So let's have a look at some of the lore that has been revealed by the Freddy's 10th anniversary releases. We find that My Pop Goes and The Joy of Creation are both in-universe fan games that exist, so those have been added to the actual in-universe fan games, and we also get the interactive novel VIP. In the VIP interactive novel, we find that a boy named Devin is lured to the Pizzaplex by the rogue VIP AI, and his brother is kidnapped, forcing him to play the AI's twisted games. And it appears that, based on some of the endings of this interactive novel, the AI has done this before and has lured certain kids to their death in the utility tunnels. The true ending, it appears, of this interactive novel is where Devin finds and unplugs the AI's central control unit, and Fazbear's inevitably covers up what happened, and presumably Helpy replaces the VIP AI. We also get certain evidence throughout this story which points us to the fact that this takes place at some point before the daycare exists and before Monty joins the core band, but also after the remodeling of the Pizzaplex has occurred based on the attractions we see present. VIP also reveals to us that the maximum occupancy experience existed in the Pizzaplex, where a VR helmet would be used to allow people to use the facilities while they are out of commission and being repaired, which may likely explain to us how Cassie supposedly rides the log flume ride that never was. We also got the Scott and Doko interview version 2, as well as a Dead by Daylight collaboration, which reveals to us that if this is in-universe, Dead by Daylight exists in the FNAF universe. And we get the reveal of the secrets of the Mimic, which is coming soon, which glitches at the very end to reveal to us 1979, implying that the Mimic has been around far longer than we realise. And the fact that it is here seen to be inside what appears to be a musical version of the Puppet's box, then this may imply to us that the Mimic may have actually had its origins in the Puppet, and this might explain why the Puppet plushies are scattered all around in Security Breach. And interestingly enough, if we look at the mask in the trailer, it seems to resemble Ennard's mask. And so if we look at a quick timeline, we can infer that the Mimic has possibly been around this entire time, existing in 1979, part of the choreography program that we know exists thanks to the Twisted Ones. And then in 82, we find that the Mimic ability is used by the Twisted animatronics to lure people. And by 1988, we find that Edwin Murray builds the physical embodiment of the Mimic, and when coding it, he notes the code seems to write itself, which may imply that the Mimic code already exists and that is why it is writing itself. Now, based on evidence that we have, it appears that after Fazbear's try to recover the Mimic and fail, the attempts are made to use the Mimics as an actual endoskeleton in the facilities. They are soon decommissioned as they are far too dangerous. And it appears at this point that the Mimic then jumps into the Fazbear on Tour cartoon, allowing it to then hijack into Billy. And some 13 years later, after Billy has augmented himself with robotic parts, it then jumps into the robotic parts, and Billy is suddenly able to see his reality and tries to destroy himself. These parts will attempt to recombine with him but fail, and then after this we don't really see where they go. Presumably around this point that we get Coils the Clown, whose description heavily makes us think of Ennard, and so the mask of the Mimic is again present here. Now, jumping forward to 2024, we find that certain chips are taken from an unknown source and used to create Glitchtrap while creating the FNAF VR game. And while in the game, the virus learns of Afton and what he does and mimics Afton. And presumably this same program is used in the Flesh to create the Springtrap there, which manages to jump into a human body and create an imitation of Springtrap from the materials in their body. And also it infects Vanessa and the AR systems, allowing the Burnt Endo Springtrap to become the Burnt Endo, which would be shipped to the Pizzaplex later. And we find at some point later the Dreadbeard DLC appears to have been created as a means of trying to catch the Mimic virus in the form of Glitchtrap. In 2026, the Mimic turns up at the original pizza place location before the Pizzaplex is built, and after being programmed to tear apart animatronics, it goes on a killing spree and is then entombed in the facility and the Pizzaplex built on top of it. In 2028, we see in the storyteller that the virus arrives in a strange four-armed contraption of animatronic parts with a tiger head, which I believe may in actual fact be the remnants of Billy's animatronic parts. And at this point, the mimic virus infects the arcade and spreads across the entire Pizzaplex. It also appears at this time that Vanessa uncovers the mimic buried beneath the Pizzaplex and uses it to get rid of the therapist. Following the events of Security Breach, Vanessa and Gregory return to the basements of the Pizzaplex and manage to trap the mimic in its secret room. However, it lures in Cassie, who then releases it. Sometime after this, however, we find that Cassie's dad, who is trapped in the VR system, manages to lure Glitchtrap out and erase the mimic virus, leaving only the physical mimic at large. Now, we also get the Into the Pit game, which, based on available evidence within the game, appears to be an in-universe game. It is a very missed opportunity, I think, that they did not put in Doko's Into the Pit song as part of this game. And as the events here differ from what we see in the book, it's entirely possible this is a dramatic reenaction of Oswald's tale, as we do know the Fazbear Frights exist as books in that universe. And so there are multiple Easter eggs throughout the game which show us hints to things that happen in Fazbear Frights, which makes me think that if the Fazbear Frights books exist in universe, it's possible that certain things in them do occur but certain details don't, which makes me wonder whether the character of Andrew is just a dramatic representation of Cassidy, and that there is in fact no Andrew and there's only ever been one spirit in Golden Freddy. Certain things that we see within the game also seem to point to the fact that it is not an accurate historical representation. In particular, the animatronics we see lying outside the old mill are anachronistic. They do not belong at the same point at the same time. Also, the phone calls we get from Phone Guy in the actual game seem to be joking references to actual Phone Guy, as none of them are actual serious phone recordings. And we even get the existence of Buff Helpy in one of the mini games, which we can imply as Buff Helpy exists as a joke in universe, that this game is in universe and is making a joke. It's also possible to unlock a number of phone calls in the game, and some of which may in fact be lore and others again seem to be jokes. As we see, we can get Phone Guy claiming that the company will always come back, which may be related to when they shut down. We get Afton being spring locked. And also an unlockable one in the code files of Afton saying he will always come back. There is one that if you type in Puppet gives you the Toreador March, which is associated with Freddy, which is interesting, and also one for Mangle where we just hear static. We also got revealed that the 5 Laps at Freddy game is in demo mode, and this appears to also be an in-universe game. And interestingly, the one notable thing that I've noted in this game is that during the night shift you can be hunted and attacked by an animatronic that resembles a wolf or a dog. And while this would just be completely out of place normally, with the added existence of the Into the Pit game, it puts me in mind of the Fetch minigame where the dog mauls the boy. And the fact that the Into the Pit game ends on "see you," which is something that Fetch would say in the actual story, makes me wonder if there's something big coming into play later which involves Fetch.